Hey YouTube, Facebook. So I'm going to try and make this as fast as possible because I could talk for an hour about this subject. But I want to talk about how social media is shit, how people have way more struggles in their life than they care to admit. I'm going to share a few of my personal struggles and what I'm going to do to overcome them. So basically, I think I had some random trolls saying, "Oh, you're just one of those YouTubers that show all the best stuff in your life," and I just want to say, that's furthest from the truth. And it's interesting how social media has devolved into some sort of not bragging. Basically, social media is a snapshot of the best parts of your life. So what tends to happen is that people share the best freaking things. Or from the best meal they've had this week to the best holiday to a really good occasion. So all you're ever seeing is like really the good stuff, and they tend to omit the bad stuff, which I think isn't cool because you should have some sort of balanced view. And what I found in business is that if you have a business and you try and scale it, if you try and scale a cruddy business if you try and scale a leaky bucket, sometimes the small holes amplify into such massive holes, sometimes even worse than you can imagine. And money is simply an amplification of everything. Originally, years ago, I thought, once I get money and I get rich, etc., most of my problems would disappear. But no, your problems just get bigger. The size and scale of the problems get bigger. The amount of resource, time and focus in order to circumnavigate some of the challenges is exponentially bigger. And money is just an amplifier. I mean, if you are a douchebag and you come into loads of money, you're going to be a massive super douche. Whereas if you're like a nice person, then you tend to become more benevolent and generous. And so, what was I trying to say? Yeah, basically it's been a long day. It's hard, and right now I'm going through a few challenges. So I'd like to say stressful time, but I prefer the word challenges. And it can amount up. And I guess the reason what I'm trying to say is that I'm struggling to talk. The thing is, I've just lost a friend. One of my mates, or a sort of a loose friend, has just committed suicide. He's a fellow business owner. He's a Marmite dude. Some people loved him, some people hated him, but either way, it's sad. And he had financial troubles, and he took his own life. And I think, he was one of those guys who I think kept it all to himself and didn't realise that he's not the only person with struggles, and I think it's really sad, and especially when some problems can get so huge you think you'll never get out of it. It really does suck. For example, I've got a few challenges right now, and some of them I'm not too sure what to do. Just off the top of my head, I've got one person that owes me 800 grand, another guy that owes me 100 grand, another guy that owes me 40 grand. There's some of the money issues. I've got staff problems. I'm moving house at the moment. I'm moving country at the moment. I'm moving staff offices at the moment. I've got a few staff niggles. I've got some of the staff kicking off that we're moving office to central Norwich, even though most of my staff do 4 days work a week with full pay and 50 days holiday a year. I've got a few business problems. So one of my businesses is a pain in the freaking ass, and that has been consistently losing about £3,700 per month for about 7 months. That's all my fault. I've basically abdicated. I put a general manager in there 6 months ago, and said, right, the business is yours, run it. I haven't got time for this, and really abdicated. And guess what? The business is a shit tip right now. So that's taking my attention away. I've got an unreasonable landlord who he thinks I've destroyed his house, and he's sent like quotes for 45 grand worth of repairs, and I was like, it's ridiculous. Like, one of the things is, like, we don't even use the third floor. We've never used the third floor. The house is way too big for us as it is, so we haven't used the third floor. And apparently, like, the whole third floor needs like a full redecoration, which is just absurd. So I've got that issue to deal with. In fact, the landlord owes me money. He's not giving it back. Yeah, and what else is there? Yeah, I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I've got accountant problems, like my accountant has screwed me over again, and the list goes on. But the thing is, what I used to do back in the, like, years ago, is that whenever I had a whole mountain of problems like building up, I used to freeze. Like, I just used to keep it all in my head, and then I'd be grumpy, I'd be depressed for weeks, and like, it wasn't nice to be around, and I was just always stressed and uptight, and I was and I found a trick a few years ago which works a treat, where basically at the beginning of every year I used to get a big piece of A4 paper, and I folded it up and I kept it in my back pocket, and I wrote out every single issue up here, niggling, and it became my sort of piece of A4, shitness. And by writing it down on a piece of paper, it sort of takes it out of your mental load. So, I know, frees up some of your RAM, and it gives you a bit of, I don't know, objectivity, subjectivity, whatever it is, where I can sort of look at it from a distance, I guess, and think more clearly about it. But the thing is, this year has been, like, in business, when it rains, it really shits it down. And I've gone through 3 A4 pieces of paper fully loaded with problems, and to the point where they were starting to fall to bits in my pocket because I was getting them out and writing on them so often. So yeah, it's just frustrating. And so what I also do when it gets out of control like this, I do like a little spider diagram. So I go, right, challenges here, and then put a whole bunch of like spider problems, and then on the next page I put a whole bunch of solutions, and then simply go through one by one. But it's a never-ending process, because the moment you solve a problem, something else pops up somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know, I guess I'm babbling now. All I wanted to say is that if you have problems, don't bottle them up, share them with someone, a friend, write them down, and put logical steps in place to try and fix them. And if you're having financial troubles, like, join the rest of the world. Like, don't worry if like, I don't care whether you're a billionaire or a non-billionaire, everyone's got financial problems. In fact, I know loads of millionaires who are constantly like yo-yoing from cash flow rich to cash flow negative to cash, and it's up and down, and yeah. And there's one other thing. It's interesting. You know how I said money is an amplifier of you. I have found that when you get up into sort of the bigger leagues of business and you start dealing with like 7 and 8 figures, you get shitted on a lot more than in normal, SME or in the micro business realm. And I think because when there's way more money on the table, people become even more anxious, and I don't know. It's interesting. I've had a bit of a revelation over the last 6 months or so that, like, because me personally, I've hit a glass ceiling. So in my sleep, I can grow a business from 0 to, I don't know, 300, 400 grand net profit per year, pretty quickly, and relatively effortlessly. But then every time I try and breach above that, or try and get turnover above a few million, I hit a glass ceiling, and infrastructure costs go up, or fixed costs go up, etc. And it just gets way more hassle. And so I think one of the revelations is I'm just going to pot around sort of the lower levels, I guess, and just have lots and lots of businesses chucking out 100 to 500k a year. In fact, I don't know why I'm sharing this. This sounds really braggy. I don't mean it like that. So anyway, this is me getting my shit off my chest, I guess. Hope it helps, and I'll see you soon. Toodles.